most amazing chocolate strawberry cake recipe ever. Hey, I'm Kawaii, and today we're making the most amazing chocolate strawberry cake. So, let's get started. First off, I'm gonna bloom my cocoa powder. So, I want half a cup or 40 grams of cocoa powder into a medium bowl. And I'm gonna sift it out too, just in case there's any lumps. I'm using natural cocoa powder for this. If you wanted to, you could use Dutch process, but this will work great. Okay, I also have my oven preheated to 350. This recipe comes together really quickly, and there's 3 9-inch pans with parchment rounds in the bottom, and they've been buttered and floured. Now, we want 1 cup or 240 milliliters of boiling hot water. This is gonna bloom the cocoa powder and really release a ton of chocolate flavor. Can whisk it up or stir it together. I'm gonna set this aside for about 10 minutes while I get the rest of my ingredients together. Now, in a large bowl, I'm combining 3 cups of all-purpose flour. That's 360 grams, 2.5 cups of granulated sugar, 1 teaspoon of salt. This will give us a nice contrast. 2.5 teaspoons of baking soda. This is going to react with an acid we'll add later. And 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. And we're going to give this a whisk. My dry ingredients are whisked, set this aside. My mixture's cooled down just a bit. I'm going to add 1 cup of buttermilk. That's 240 milliliters. This is the acid that will react with the baking soda, in case you were wondering. 1 cup or 240 milliliters of veggie oil, and here's the deal. This cake is going to be refrigerated. It has tons of fresh strawberries in it. And I just think it's a shame if you have a cake out of the fridge that was amazing fresh, but now it's all hard. And just not great. So using veggie oil gives you a moist, amazing soft cake. And if you don't want to use this, you could use any other oil, like avocado oil would work. Anything super mild with not a lot of flavor. Alright, 3 room temperature eggs. I get a lot of questions about egg substitutes on the channel. And I do read all of your comments, by the way. Here's the deal. You could have used bananas as a sub for that, like baking bananas that are really soft. I don't love the flavor of strawberry banana chocolate. So here I recommend using like a flaxseed meal sub, which would mean that you're going to take 1 tablespoon of flaxseed meal, 3 tablespoons of water for each egg. So that'd be 3 tablespoons of flaxseed and 9 tablespoons of water. Mix it together, let it stand for 5 minutes, and then add it in. I'm also adding in a tablespoon of vanilla extract. That's 15 milliliters. We're going to give this a whisk and get it nice and smooth. Now, we're going to pour our amazing chocolate mixture into the flour. Some cakes are so delicious, but they have a lot of steps in them. This is nice and smooth, fully incorporated. We're going to get this into our pans. Alright, pour this into your buttered and floured 9-inch pans. This is a big cake, but no one's going to be upset about it. These are going into the oven 350 Fahrenheit for about 30 minutes. And here is a warning for you. This is like a lot of cake for your ovens. So you're probably going to have it in multiple layers. You might be tempted to swap them around halfway through. I would wait until the last 10 minutes of baking, because if you disturb this delicate batter too soon, the cake will collapse a little bit in the middle. It'll be fine if it does, so don't worry. But for best results, just don't move the cakes or open the oven for at least 20 minutes. So, for the buttercream, I want about half a cup of strawberries. And we're gonna give these a nice chop. The thing is that these get mixed into the buttercream. And some of them get beaten a bit and they lose their juice. And they give it a beautiful soft pink color and wonderful strawberry taste. And some of them stay kind of intact in their little chunks of strawberry that look beautiful. My strawberries are chopped. It's time to make that amazing buttercream. So, grab a mixer. If you want, you could do this with a hand mixer. I'm using a stand mixer though. We're starting off by adding 1.5 cups or unsalted butter into our bowl. And we're also gonna add a nice pinch of salt too. Pinch of salt. There you go. Grab a whisk. We're gonna beat this up on high for 5 minutes until the butter is light and fluffy. Take note of the color now. It's kind of yellow. It's gonna be a wonderful pale off-white color. 5 minutes. We'll be right back. 5 minutes later, I want to show you the results. My butter's all mixed up. I have my strawberries chopped. It's time to make some magic happen. So, with the mixer running on low, I'm adding in 6 to 8 cups of sugar, powdered, half a cup at a time. Pop it in there. And we're gonna alternate with a tablespoon of strawberries. In you go. So instead of cream or milk to soften this up, the strawberries will release some of their juice and make it delicious, soft, and nice and smooth. If you're using a lot of strawberries, like I am by the way, you're gonna have to go really 8 cups. 6 cups gives you a very, very soft buttercream, which is not the best for building a cake up. This recipe uses American buttercream, which some people think can be kind of sweet. But when you add fresh fruit in it, you make sure to really whip the butter for 5 minutes. It is perfection. And then our cake is ready to assemble. And just like that, we're all done. And yes, now for the assembly. I will say there's one more thing to make, which is the chocolate ganache. But I want my cake to chill while I'm making it, because it makes cutting it so much easier. Okay, it's time to assemble the cake. These layers are so soft, so be careful with them. They're to be treated gently. We're gonna add about a cup of frosting in between the 2 layers. Now we're going to spread our frosting over our delicate cake. Next layer goes right on. Don't worry about getting it all the way to the edge. We'll fill that in. Last layer goes right on top. Add a thinner layer for this. And the remaining frosting is going to go on the side and get smoothed out. You don't need a piping bag and a turntable. I'm doing it the better way, because it makes it so much easier. This way you can just apply buttercream wherever it needs to go. It's just so much easier. When you ice a cake and it looks like, oh my gosh, I ran out of frosting. Don't worry, we're just gonna swoop it up and down like this. And we'll cover and make everything right. Because really the frosting is sweet. You don't want to have a giant thick layer of frosting, because then you couldn't taste the cake. Use an offset spatula, swipe the top while you turn. So, you're pulling in and turning at the same time to get a nice edge. Okay, look at that. Every drop of frosting used. Perfect coverage, no waste. This goes into the fridge to set up. It'll make it so much easier to cut. And while it's chilling, we'll make our chocolate ganache and crown the cake with strawberries. So for our ganache, I have some water coming to a simmer. I want 3½ ounces of chocolate. Give this a nice, fine chop. You want to make a melted, creamy, amazing ganache. But you don't want to have big chunks of chocolate to melt. That'll take too much time. It'll get a little bit too hot. It could burn. It could just be annoying for the drip situation. So, fine chop is the best bet. Grab a bowl that will not touch the water when you add it to the pot. Drip cakes can be kind of intimidating, even though they're like one of the easiest things to do, because the drip should be like just right. I'll show you how to do it though. We're gonna pop this onto our simmering water to melt now. Your chocolate's gonna start melting pretty quickly. I'm gonna give it frequent stirs. But while I do that, I'm also going to hull my strawberries, because I want them to sit up perfectly straight on my cake. Take a break and stir. Back to hulling your strawberries. And then by the by, this is already done. So, you don't want to melt all the chocolate. Any tiny little pieces that are left will melt with the residual heat. What I want to do is start cooling this down, because if it's too hot, like no matter how thick your ganache is, if it's too hot, it'll just go straight down. And it could even like melt your cake a little bit and create create some problems. So let's start cooling. It'll finish melting on its own. Okay, I want to show you one trick for understanding whether or not your ganache is ready for a drip. So, you get some ganache, a vertical surface, and you apply it. And if it runs down super hard like this, you might want to let it cool down for just a minute or two. That's not too bad. If it doesn't run down enough, you might want to heat it up, or even go back and add more cream. But a vertical test will really let you know if your drip's gonna be pretty, or just straight lines going down. We're gonna pour almost all of our ganache on top of the cake. Now use an offset spatula and just smooth it out to the edge. Ooh, this makes me so happy. I love the contrast of brown and pink. Now, we're gonna coax some drips out by pushing more ganache to the edge. If you go and wait too long at this step, the ganache sets up and it's too thick. So, you end up trying to fix it and cheat it, and it's just not fun. And now, we are gonna crown this with our strawberries. Just really plant them in there. Because what can happen is they kinda slide off if things are not set up. And if you're not secure about this, let the ganache set for a bit before you add them on. I'm being bold. I'm also kinda working them in there. This cake will last in the fridge for a while, but for the strawberries on top, if you're not serving this immediately, give them a brush with some watered down strawberry jam. It'll make them shiny and glossy, and keep all the moisture inside. You gotta make this cake. I gotta cut this cake. Alright. That might be a perfect cake. I'm literally tingling from all the flavors. It melts in your mouth. It's creamy, strawberries, chocolate amazingness. I hope you get a chance to try this recipe. And if you like this video, check out my amazing cake playlist. If you like my videos, hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.